I'm Steve.
I'm Heather.
And you're watching Rain Beast Projects. So, right now we're off to, not really surprise, but he probably is surprised. A local subscriber who purchased some Rain Beast merch. I noticed the address is local. It's within like 15 minutes from our house. Placed an order, and I sent him a text because he put his phone number on the order, and I said, you know what, we're gonna deliver the merch to you directly. So right now we're on our way to do that. If I seem a little tired, it's because I worked all night last night. I actually had to go in 2 hours early before my shift for an operation called Nighthawk, which is dedicated to Trooper Kenton Iwaniec, who tragically lost his life in a DUI accident where he was struck on his way home from work. An impaired driver struck him head on. Operation Nighthawk, what it entails is that multiple agencies come together and do roving DUI enforcement to make people aware and to get impaired drivers off the street, to make our lives and your lives safer. It really hits home. This can happen to anyone, where you're driving down the road and an impaired driver can change your life forever. So, you know, think twice about getting behind the wheel after you have a few cocktails. You know, Uber's out there, Lyft, friends, family, call someone for a ride.
We want to welcome all of you this evening for Operation Nighthawk, which is sponsored by the Pennsylvania State Police Bureau of Patrol and funded by PennDOT. The Pennsylvania State Police have conducted this program for the past 16 years throughout the Commonwealth with tremendous success. This is the third Operation Nighthawk to be held in Troop J. The first Operation Nighthawk in Troop J was in 2015, at which time there were 124 members and officers who participated, and they made 127 DUI arrests. Tonight, this Operation Nighthawk is dedicated to Trooper Kenton Iwaniec, who lost his life in a car crash when he was struck by a drunk driver on March 27th, 2018, which will be 10 years ago this Tuesday. We are all here to try and prevent this type of crash from occurring this weekend and to bring awareness to the community. Remember, tonight we are here to address the issue of DUI in Pennsylvania. So let us not forget the mission that we have here. That is to save lives and deter impaired driving. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. We truly appreciate the outstanding relationships that we have with each and all of you and all of your departments. Having these good working relationships helps all of us in completing our mission. That mission is serving the citizens of Pennsylvania. Now, I'd like to introduce the Area 4 Commander, Major Dante Orlandi.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Pennsylvania State Police, I'd like to thank all of you for being here today to participate in what is going to be the best Operation Nighthawk ever. I think just about every police department in Chester County is present. That's pretty impressive, and I do appreciate you taking the time to come out and join us in this operation. Tonight, your goal is to save lives, prevent tragedies, and protect our communities. I want you to think for a moment, just think, put yourself in somebody else's shoes. Think about what it would be like to go out to dinner with your spouse, or you're taking your kids to the park, and the rest of your life has been changed. Your goals, your dreams ended instantly. The pain, the suffering, the sorrow will last forever. Because of you, tonight, it's not going to happen. Not on your watch. Every day, people are injured and die because of intoxicated drivers. And as we all know here, the drug epidemic is unbelievable. Think about it, 40,000 people a year die. That's 40,000 aunts, uncles, cousins, moms, dads, brothers, and sisters that are killed each year, and another 4.6 million injured. I don't need to tell you the part that DUIs play into those crashes. Intoxicated drivers devastate lives. You understand the significance of DUI enforcement. That's why you're here tonight. Intoxicated driving is a dangerous crime. We do the best we can to stop impaired drivers before they get behind the wheel through education and well-publicized enforcement efforts. Still tonight, people will make bad choices, and you're here to stop them. With your efforts, many serious injuries and deaths will be prevented. While you'll probably never know the names or see the faces of those you've helped, you will be the unsung heroes tonight. You chose to be here tonight, and you will make a difference. I ask that you never forget the impact that you have on our society. Each time you take a drunk off the road, you're saving lives. You're creating better communities. There's no way of knowing how many people's lives and injuries you will have prevented tonight and throughout your career. But know this, you make a difference out there. I want everybody to stay safe, and God bless.
They do have a nonprofit set up now. I'll have that information in the description below. As always, we always have important information in the description, so check that out.
Left.
And check it out. If you can't make one of the events, maybe just submit a donation. Everything helps, and it promotes education for DUI awareness and training for law enforcement officers. They're also supplying agencies with PBTs. We actually received one last night, my police department.
Troy, we're coming in hot.
We're coming in hot. What's up, Troy?
Hey, how you doing?
How you like this delivery?
How you doing?
Check this thing out.
Yeah. 2017. It's full deleted. Got the SB air intake. That's really about it. Put a new grill on it.
It's nice.
Got my cap.
We actually brought you some extra
Hi.
stuff.
Hi, how you doing?
Nice
to meet ya.
Nice to meet you.
Got some stuff for you.
Appreciate it.
Boy order. Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
I'm in a dilemma right now. She doesn't know, but I'm planning a new mod for the truck.
Oh yeah.
And my dilemma is, do I do a gear swap or do I put, I'm thinking forged wheels on this thing. 8 inches, I crossed that off. I'm not doing the 8-inch lift anymore. It's too much money. It's like $1,700. I'm already at 6 inches. So if I go to 8 inches, it's $1,700 just to go up 2 inches. It's not worth it. So if I'm going to go up 2 inches, I'm going to go up to at least 10-inch lift. I ain't paying that money. And then that makes that truck ridiculous. And then I have to do gears, even though I do have to do gears. That's on the list.
Those rims are pretty sweet though. I like that blue accent.
Well, Troy, we really appreciate your support.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. If you ever need anything, give us a holler. Well, that was cool. Got to meet one of our subscribers and personally deliver some Ram Beast merch. Ram Beast delivery service. That was pretty damn cool. He's a cool dude. And he drives a Cummins.
Winner in your book, right?
Oh yeah, winner. Cool guy. It's nice to have local supporters.
Yes.
You know?
Agreed.
I mean, I love all my supporters, but it's really cool when someone, 10 minutes away from you, enjoys your content, loves watching the channel. So that's why we keep coming back. We continue to do videos, and that's why we do this. That's why I do this.
It's in Pennsylvania roads, people. It's not me. Sorry.
These roads stink. So the wife and I are gonna go get some grub, but if you haven't already, you have to check out rambeastprojects.com. Maybe we'll show up at your house and deliver some merch. You never know. We're planning some trips. We're going to Ocean City, Maryland in May. We'll be at a show, Wagontown Firehouse, at the end of April. I'll have all that stuff in the description as well. And then in August, the Carlisle Truck Nationals. So,
or if you know of a show around that maybe we should go to, feel free to give us some suggestions.
Yeah, definitely. Hit us up. Let us know. We'll try to make it happen. Like I'm off a lot in the summer, so we can try to work something out. We'll get there. My wife loves going to shows.
I do. That I don't mind at all.
Yeah. It's freezing. and I'm hungry, and the wife is extremely hungry.
I am. That communion wasn't enough.
She wants all this.
I've been sleeping alone the past 2 nights.
I'm back. We finished our romantic lunch at the KFC restaurant. I think I threw out half of it. Just to show you guys we haven't given up. What do we need?
A V8!
It's only a 6 though.
I know, but that seat's sexy.
The only all-wheel drive Chargers that you can get in a V8 are police packages.
Well, you're a police. Damn that one.
That's red.
Rust.
Red.
Rust.
What's this one behind us? Scat Pack. This is what we want. I mean, we want a Hellcat, but I think it'd be cool to have a Scat Pack, to start modding the hell out of a Scat Pack. You know?
Yeah.
I think the viewers would appreciate that more, because everyone's doing Hellcats. You don't see a lot of people doing Scat Packs.
We're outside the box people anyway.
Yeah, we are. That's how we roll.
We form a line of focus and do our own thing.
It's been a few days. Normally our videos are in the same day, but unfortunately I just wasn't feeling it. I felt tired, lethargic. My iron levels were low, so I went on a iron supplement. Actually, I was on iron supplement before, and I stopped taking it for about 2 weeks, and I paid the price. So here we are, we're back. We're gonna finish this vlog so you guys can have it today, which is Friday. And I hope everyone has an awesome Easter before we close out this video, and I forget to tell you that. I'm waiting on the wife to get home. I'm gonna fix something that I broke during the install, and go into a few other things. So at the moment, I think what I'm gonna do while I'm waiting for her to come home is remove that, take off the social media icons, because I think it's they look silly. And then I'm gonna put a new decal on and make it lower to my guys at the Jeep shop, the JP shops decal, because we gotta support them. One of our favorite shops. Hold on. I finally made a decision of what the next big mod's gonna be, but you guys will have to stay tuned. I ordered them. Well, I ordered it. We got some new mods planned for next week. Thanks to Monster Am, he actually recommended this mod some time ago. Instead of doing a lift pump, I'm gonna be adding a cat filter and doing a fuel filter delete. So check this out. That's what the kit looks like. We're gonna be doing that. So I really don't need a lift pump at this point in time, because I'm not really doing any performance mods to the engine. The fleece stock fuel filter delete. I'm gonna delete that off the side of the block of the engine. So thanks to Monster Am for the recommendation. Now Fleece is making fuel pumps. So if I ever, well, they're making the high flow fuel pumps. They're actually submersible. They go right in your tank, just like the factories fuel pumps do. And if I ever do performance mods to the engine, which I probably will at some point, just not planned for any time soon, I'm probably going to go with that. Ordered the big thing, the next big mod, the big expense. Some of you guys probably aren't going to be happy with it. Some of you guys are like, yeah, that's what we wanted you to do. Just remember, when you see this mod, know that I'm not towing with this truck. So I do realize that gears are important, and I will, and I fully intend to do gears at some point. Just, I don't need them right now. I'm not racing this truck. I'm not towing with this truck. Another thing I'd like to add, just to let everyone know. Oh, here she comes.
What's
What's
up?
up? Just out here talking to the viewers.
You know, just wishing I was back in Punta Cana.
Right? I was just telling them that I am by no means a mechanic. My full-time job by trade is in law enforcement.
Very true.
But I do like to tinker and I like to learn. So this is my first diesel truck, and I'm learning a lot, because I didn't know a thing about diesels when I first got this truck. I just know I always wanted them because they have a ridiculous...
You like the way they sound. Vroom, vroom.
I like the way they sound, but I also love that they have a ridiculous amount of torque and horsepower.
Oh, torque.
Yeah.
I like it when you say that word.
And it's got the mighty Cummins. So, yes, I am not a mechanic by any means. No, I don't do all the mods and work myself, but I have great people that I surround myself with that are experienced, that know what they're doing, and I learn from watching them and assisting them. So
I learned from watching you.
You may not see me in every single video doing the mods. I'm not doing all the mods myself, nor am I an expert mechanic. Nor will I ever be an expert mechanic, but I'm learning, and that's what it's about. That's what this channel is about. This channel is about teaching others, and I'm learning in the process, and I'm enjoying myself. It's also about Ram Beast's life. These two, and a dog.
Hazers outside, living your life, living your best life possible.
Like you guys are always aware, especially our long-term followers, I always keep it real on the channel. We had a oops when we did the installation on the wife's car.
It wasn't really an our oops, it was a you oops. And when we pulled it out, I can't remember which one. I think it was this one. We broke a clip.
Right there.
Yep.
We broke that. Well, I broke that.
There was no wheeze.
So I got a replacement tail light, and we're gonna install really quick like. You know what, I'll just leave this in here like this so we don't scratch it. Like I was telling them, I said we keep it real on our channel. We're not perfect by any means.
Well, I mean, I am, but... Right, babe?
Yeah, you're perfect. That's why I married you 3 times.
Yeah.
True story, guys. Married her 3 times. We had a secret wedding, and then we had a destination wedding in Punta Cana, and then we had a family wedding.
That wasn't supposed to happen because everybody swore they were coming to Punta Cana.
Nope, that didn't happen.
Nope.
But we did have a good crew in Punta Cana. It was a good time.
Oh, the best.
Yeah, it was fun. So guys, preceding this video, I got permission from Trooper Iwaniec's family to put their presentation on our YouTube channel. They actually subscribed to the channel and gave me permission to use their presentation, which is pretty deep. It's a very deep presentation. Yeah, I personally got choked up during it. They also have the Trooper Iwaniec Foundation now, where they promote DUI awareness, and they're purchasing PBTs for the police departments and the Pennsylvania State Police, well, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So check that out. They also have a lot of great events coming up. That'll be on their website. All that information will be in the description below. If you choose to watch it, it's there. I just wanted to let you guys know. So we're gonna attempt to put this back in. Heddy, tell me your thoughts of it. You actually watched it live on my police department's live feed.
It's like, you know, it's horrible that they have to talk about something like this, but their story, it definitely will keep you, I don't want to say entertained, but it definitely keeps your attention. There were parts, like the detail of the accident, and I mean, angered me. It just infuriated me.
The one thing that infuriated me is what the family said, is that the POS, I probably shouldn't say that, but the POS who's in prison, who's due to get, I think, paroled this year, this is the 10th anniversary of his death, is due to get paroled, I believe this year, was actually bragging that she killed a state trooper in prison. I mean, sickening, disgusting. She should be in there for life.
True, but also another thing that just kind of infuriated me was just the fact that, well, she was... Drinking and driving is just wrong in general, but the fact that, you know, you purposefully went out, you filled your car up with gas, you bought a bottle, and you had your 4-year-old in the car with you. I believe I had heard in the story that she went off and parked so that she could drink. She shut the lights out in the car so that she wasn't spotted, and it's just horrible.
She was triple the legal limit. She was triple the legal limit here in Pennsylvania. Triple. So, no business being on the road.
Definitely, it was eye-opening to watch and to listen, and my heart does go out to their family and
the family. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting my wife.
Heather, tell us about it.
No, you're doing good. You're doing good, but you're bringing like thoughts back to my head that I wanted to say that I couldn't convey because
Gotcha.
it's one of those things.
No, understood.
It's good having dialogue with your best friend. The family, they're by far great. I mean, they're awesome people. Awesome, really down to earth people. So they're trying to continue Kenton's legacy by having this foundation to promote DUI enforcement and DUI awareness. I know I said it like 100 times, but it's important. So I suggest watching it.
Just do it.
Yeah, I do. I don't know what's going on here. It's supposed to click in, but it's not clicking in. All right, so the light I initially broke during the install is now fixed. If anyone's in the market for a broken 5th Gen 4Runner taillight, I mean, other than the one stud that's broken off of it, it's in great shape. I'll hold on to it for like a week or so. Let me know if you guys want that.
Trash day's Tuesday night. You have until Tuesday.
Hit me up on Instagram or the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. I know it's not the norm. It's a little all over the place. It was a crazy week. I worked last weekend, so but I still hope you enjoyed it. I mean, part of Ram Beast's life. And if you're stopping by for the first time,
subscribe.
And if you did enjoy the video,
Give it a thumbs up.
we love you guys. We'll see you on the next upload. Stay around at the end of this video if you want to watch the presentation from the Iwaniec family at Operation Nighthawk.
Stay safe.
Coming in the room, we have Mr. and Mrs. Iwaniec, being Ken and Deb, and their 3 daughters, Casey, Shauna, and Ashley. Sergeant Kennedy.
You guys with a check from the 4,500 members of the Pennsylvania State Police, thanking you for the work that you guys are continuing to do, helping these guys to keep our streets safe. We greatly appreciate everything you guys are doing. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for that.
Grateful to see such a large crowd. It's heartwarming. Thank you so much.
As my wife said, we're thrilled to see the numbers here. Not only the numbers themselves, but the mix between state and local. I think that's a great testament to your desire to make our roads safe, and we thank you again for that. I know you guys deal with numbers all the time. That number, to most people, it's just a number. For my family, our friends, this number is a heartbreaker. It's the number of people that were killed in DUI-related crashes in the year 2008. The number represents many faces, one of which belongs to my son. He was a rookie, working out of the Avondale Barracks. He had just finished his shift, working an afternoon shift, just 2 miles from the barracks, around 10:20 p.m. A black Chevy Tahoe crossed the center line, sideswiped a pickup truck in front of Kenton, and hit him head on. After hitting him head on, the vehicle flipped over on the side and skidded 400 feet. That's his car. I know you guys see stuff like that all the time, but it's still hard for us to look at. He was trapped in that car for 37 minutes while emergency responders fought to save his life, after which he was life-flighted to Christiana Hospital in Delaware. You know, as a family, even though Kenton's choice of careers, you think about it, but you could never prepare for an experience like that. And as we tried to cope with what had happened, details of the crash came out, and we were stunned by those details. The woman who was driving the Chevy Tahoe had a BAC more than 4 times the legal limit. She was not impaired when she got in the vehicle that night. After taking her son to dinner at Chuck E. Cheese, she drove to a state store, left the vehicle running with her 4-year-old son in the back seat, ran in and purchased a fifth of vodka, and she proceeded to drive around Chester County in her vehicle as a moving bar. She also, after going into the state store, went across the street and filled her vehicle up. So she had the intentions of using that vehicle as that bar. She was also under the influence of illegal oxycodone. She was driving 73 miles per hour in a 45 zone. She never hit her brakes. To make matters worse, she was driving without her lights on. She had turned them off when she pulled over. She wanted to keep the vehicle running for her son to watch a movie in the back seat while she sat and drank. She didn't want to be noticed. When she pulled out, she forgot to turn her lights back on. The man in the pickup truck in front of my son, in the police report, said he had no idea what had hit him. She sideswiped his door and knocked the mirror off until he saw the sparks in the rearview mirror. My son suffered greatly. His injuries were the only serious ones in the crash. The man in the pickup drove home. He was uninjured. The driver of the Tahoe broke her ankle, and her son was not hurt, thank God. At 4-year-old, he did not deserve that ride that night. 10 years have passed. 10 Easters, 10 Thanksgiving, 10 Christmas seasons, 10 birthdays celebrated without him, 10 hunting and fishing seasons without my best friend. And all I have left are memories. And I think back, he was a good man. He was a good son. He was always there for me when I needed him. He was my hunting and fishing buddy. He was a loyal friend to all his friends. One thing I admired about him, he was able to make friends faster and keep them longer than anyone I knew. His same friends are still his friend to this day. God blessed me with a beautiful family, beautiful wife. And when she mentioned that they're all ours, it's easy to see where they got their looks from. Could be some doubt if I was their dad, but I am. Blessed me with 3 beautiful daughters. Now we got another little lady and got a granddaughter, Maddie, 3 years old. No offense, ladies. Coming from a family of most women, my son was my link to sanity. I miss him badly. Thinking about him after 10 years, started thinking about his choice to become a police officer. Started thinking about his life, what he had done. It all made sense to me. Came up with a few reasons why he ended up doing what you do. Number one, he was raised in the country, so he was fine working alone. He was very active in church. He was an altar server for 9 years, so he knew how to serve others. He had that personal relationship with God, so he had someone watching his back. He played sports, so he learned teamwork. He was actually an undersized tight end on his football team. Every time we'd go to the game, I'd have to prepare my wife. I said, when we get there and they're warming up, pick out the biggest guy on the other team. That's who your son will have to block that day. So he knew how to handle large, aggressive people. In high school, he was a group commander of his ROTC program, so he knew how to lead. As a teen, he attended a PSP summer camp, so he learned structure in his day. He went through boot camp at the United States Merchant Marine Academy, so he was okay with academy life. He was a protector of his 3 sisters. remember him telling a story about having his sisters in the back seat. We have a driveway that's about 1/8 of a mile long. It goes down and then up. It is paved, so it's a little safer, but he used to have his sisters in the back seat, and he would practice driving up that driveway backwards as fast as he could. So he knew what it was like to have someone in the back seat screaming at him. He has 3 sisters, I think I mentioned that. So he learned how to take orders. No surprise how he ended up where he did. I could spend a lot of time telling you what he was like, but in this group, it would be a waste of all our time because you know him. He's sitting in your seat. He's sitting next to you. He had that same desire to serve and to protect that you have. Most of all, he loved that brotherhood of being a peace officer. He talked about it all the time. Thought I knew what he was talking about, but after 10 years, I think I do now. It's an amazing family, the police family. Thank you. He was a man who loved his family, he loved his friends, he loved his country, most of all, he loved God. He was the type of man this world needed more of. See, my son lost his life due to the actions of another. He did nothing wrong that day. She's now serving 8.5 to 17 years. She's up for parole again this year for all the things she did wrong. She is in jail, but her family can go see her. My family has to go to a cemetery. When her sentence is up, they get her back. Kenton's gone forever. She may suffer in jail. They can't match the suffering and the damage she inflicted on my son. She suffered that broken ankle, as I said, her son uninjured. My son had to have a closed casket. She gets a second chance at life. Everything Kenton worked for is gone. After 10 years, it amazes me how many chances DUI offenders get, how many second chances. They can be partially guilty, up to 0.08 before they're guilty. I don't know of any other crime that's like that. They have the ARD program, White Through Record Claim. As you know, they have the lenient laws of our state, and they come away with those soft sentences. They don't need another second chance, believe me. You know, someone else's poor decisions that night resulted in a call that I wish I never had to answer.
March 27th, 2008 was a typical Thursday night. I was almost asleep when I received a phone call at 11:05 that would change my life forever. And I could tell that my mom was crying. She told me that Kenton was in a crash and that we needed to get to the hospital right away. And I remember standing there in my bedroom and my heart just sinking straight to the floor. Because you know in your mind that that call is always a possibility. But you can never prepare yourself for the intense agony and heartache that you feel for your loved one at that moment. My mom asked that I call my youngest sister Ashley and pick her up from college. So immediately we jumped in the car and began the hour trip to Ashley's school. Once we picked her up, we then had a 5-hour trip across the state to get to Christiana Hospital in Delaware. And that entire ride on the turnpike, I just kept praying, you know, just let him be okay. Just let him be okay. And I thought to myself, you know, our family is really strong. We will be able to help Kenton no matter what his injuries are. But little did we know that it would be our lives that needed to be rebuilt. Thoughts of the last time that I saw my brother ran through my mind. And with 4 kids in the family, our schedules were pretty crazy. But my parents always made it a priority that we would celebrate the holidays at some point together. So just a week and a half earlier, we had celebrated Easter early because Kenton had to work on Easter Sunday. And I remember watching him walk into Mass and thinking to myself as he walked past those windows, oh my gosh, he looks so grown up. Kenton had this bounce in his step because he was living his dream. He had the job that he always wanted, and he was about to ask the love of his life to marry him. And I remember thinking at that moment, oh my goodness, I am just so proud to be his sister. Then my thoughts went to, what if Kenton doesn't make it? What is going to happen to our family? Because Kenton was an integral part of our family dynamics. He could add a sense of fun and humor to any situation. We could always count on him to lighten up a situation. What were we going to do without hearing one of his random facts or some useless bit of knowledge that he would want to share with us? Or a movie line that would make us all groan? What were my sisters and I going to do without our fun-loving brother who would never, ever hesitate to tell us that he loved us or give us a kiss? What was my dad going to do without his best friend? Or my mom where he couldn't get enough of her home-cooked meals? But around 5 a.m., we finally arrived at the hospital and all of my fears rang true. And as we pulled into the emergency room entrance, all we saw were Delaware and Pennsylvania State Police cruisers. And as we stepped out of the car to walk into the hospital to meet my parents, I remember a group of troopers surrounding us. And as they escorted us into the hospital, I remember thinking that they formed like a shield around us, like they were trying to protect us from the pain that we were about to experience. Because in an instant, our lives were changed by an impaired driver. And I cannot imagine how difficult it must have been for my parents to tell us that Kenton didn't make it. How difficult it must have been for them to gather their strength and walk us down a long hospital corridor to Kenton's bedside. Because I will never, ever be able to forget the image of my brother lying in that hospital bed, swollen and broken and not looking anything like that energetic brother that I knew. And because of one woman's choice to drive impaired, our family now is forced to live with this deep emptiness that echoes through each of us. Our hearts are broken, and each one of us can tell you that 10 years later, they're not repaired because we have lost someone that was too valuable and too good. And even though I know that these events are our reality, there have been many times throughout the last 10 years that the whole experience has seemed surreal. There are times when I think, oh, this really isn't happening. Or, Kenton was just away working, or he'll call soon. Or he'll be there at Mom and Dad's. We didn't have to hear the words "he didn't make it" from my parents. We didn't have to see his battered body lying in that hospital bed. We didn't stand in the funeral home and say, let's pick this casket. It's the color of Kenton's uniform and he would like it. But I always have to face that terrible truth. That I will never see or speak to my brother in this world ever again. And all we are left with are memories of Kenton.
The phone call that changed our lives forever was the result of an impaired driver's devastating decision. Helplessness filled our lives. I, too, will never forget arriving at Christiana Hospital, and as we pulled into the emergency room entrance, there were cruisers everywhere. And then we were escorted through the emergency room and down this corridor, and there were officers lined up on both sides. And I took time to look at each and every one of them, and none of them would make eye contact with me. It was then I knew the bad news was going to come. My husband and I were led into a small waiting room where we met Kenton's captain, Brenda Bernat, and his lieutenant, Lieutenant Shelton Sneed. And we met them for the very first time. Beautiful people, absolutely beautiful. I just wish we would have met them under different circumstances. Moments later, a doctor arrived and offered his regrets. The trauma staff had tried everything, the surgeon said, but Kenton's heart was too weak. And I remember thinking to myself how untrue. Kenton had the most loving and giving heart. It was anything but weak. And then they asked if we wanted to go see Kenton. Of course I did. I'd like to go see my son alive. Instead, we were escorted down another corridor and into a room where a body laid on a gurney. That body was so tightly wrapped in white blankets that just the face and the right hand were exposed. That was it. And I remember looking at that figure, being unable to recognize my son. And I whispered to my husband, "Are you sure they got this right? Are you sure this is Kenton?" And my husband reached at the bottom of the bed for a Ziploc bag that contained identification. And when he did so, my eyes scanned down that face a second time and rested on those lips. That was my son. Those were the lips that used to kiss me on the cheek, the lips that would tell me that they loved me, the lips that would say the funniest things. He was our family comedian. I remember at that moment thanking God for such a beautiful blessing. I loved Kenton's smile so much, and those lips were perfect. I was just so grateful. And then their nurse asked if I wanted to hold Kenton's hand. Of course I did. I'd like to hold my son's hand as he walked out of that hospital on his own accord. Instead, I reached down and I touched that cold and lifeless hand. And for me, that was the reality, that my son wasn't coming home the way we wanted him to. My biggest regret to date is no matter how fast my husband drove across the state to get to Kenton, we didn't make it there in enough time. I didn't get that one last chance to tell my son how much I loved him or how proud I was of him. I didn't get to hold him and comfort him in his time of need the way a mother's supposed to. A parent's worst nightmare became real for us. You see, a parent's not supposed to precede their children in death. Life's not supposed to be that way. And my husband and I waited for our daughters and Julie to arrive. And each time they would inform us who was there. And they would ask us, "Would you like us to tell them?" And each time we said no. Bad news about a loved one should be given by a loved one. And to date, those 3 conversations were the most difficult conversations I've ever had in my life. How does one comfort others when they themselves are shattered and broken? How can a parent ever say it'll be okay when you know it won't be? How can a family be whole again when an intricate part is missing? And because they had flown Kenton across the state line, there was a protocol we had to follow, a 48-hour waiting period before we could bring Kenton home. And so we decided to wait in Delaware for Kenton. And so we already started to make funeral arrangements while we were there in Delaware. We approached the next few days with the intentions that we wanted to honor Kenton's short but beautiful life. He was only 24 years old. Every decision we made, the eulogy, the hymns that were sung, the food that we served, the photos that we displayed, we wanted Kenton to know how much we loved him and how proud we were of him. But in hindsight, I had no idea that that was the easy part. It's trying to live without Kenton each and every day that still proves to be the most difficult task. And then following the funeral, my husband and I were empty shells. Had God not blessed us with 3 additional children, I doubt very much that we would be here today. I had to deal with an insurance company that refused to pay the medical bills because they said they needed the autopsy report and the crash report. sending them the death certificate multiple times wasn't good enough. So I made a request to the state police, and after multiple requests, they finally decided that they would send the information to our house. And all we had to do was readdress the envelope and send it on to the insurance company. But I kid you not, on the very day that those reports arrived, my husband and I had received a phone call from that insurance company just 2 hours earlier, stating they no longer needed that information. They didn't need those reports. So my husband and I looked at each other. We vowed we wouldn't open up the envelope. We would put it in the family safe, and that's where it would stay. But that evening, I walk into our bedroom, and there's my husband sitting on the bed. The envelope is open. There's paper spread on top of the bed, and he's sitting there crying. And I look at him, and he says, "My job as a father was to protect our children. And Kenton died a brutal death, and there's nothing I could do." So I'm going to share with you what those reports revealed. The damage to Kenton's body caused by the weight and force of an impaired driver's vehicle was devastating. The damage to his internal organs was relentless. Kenton was so proud to be an organ donor, he had everyone in our family sign up to be one, and yet not one of his organs was salvaged. Not one. We learned through the reports that Kenton was in and out of consciousness while they worked to extract him from the vehicle. A vehicle that he was trapped in for 37 minutes. The young paramedic that worked on Kenton wrote in his report that Kenton spoke multiple times, but he couldn't understand what Kenton was saying because he was bleeding through his mouth. You see, Kenton's teeth had been knocked out on impact, but his lips were perfect. I still think that's a beautiful miracle for God. Kenton had 3 skull fractures and compound fractures on the left side of his body. And the last thing written in the report was that metal and glass protruded from his body. So we know Kenton suffered greatly at the hands of an impaired driver. And I get through my days by not reliving a photo of the crash or memories of this funeral. Instead, I get through my days by reliving beautiful memories of Kenton. And one of the things I loved most about Kenton is that he was a gentleman. He would walk on the outside of the sidewalks when he was with a woman. He would open the car doors for his dates. He was very careful about his language around women, and I loved that about him. He was always so courteous and respectful to women. At the funeral home, several fathers of girls that Kenton had dated told us they wished Kenton would have been their son-in-law. What a great compliment to have received. He was handsome, he was charming, and he was bright, and I am still so proud to be his mother. I also recall Kenton being a hard worker. No matter what task his dad had at hand, he was there to help him out. When Kenton left the United States Merchant Marine Academy, he left behind a full military scholarship to come home and finish his degree at St. Vincent College while he was applying to get into the State Police Academy. And he felt so bad. We were not good family planners. I'll just tell you right now, we had Acacia, then 4 years later we had Kenton, and then it was like 16 months we had Shauna, and then 16 months we had Ashley. I don't know what we were thinking, but we had 3 kids in college for 3 years straight. He felt bad about that scholarship, giving it up, but his dad said, "No, Kenton, come home and live your dream." One day he comes home and says, "Mom and Dad, I want you to know I got a job." That young man got a job selling cell phones at a kiosk at Westmoreland Mall. And he worked 40 hours a week while he was a full-time student at St. Vincent College. And guess what he bought with that first paycheck? You're probably thinking something for his car or something for his current girlfriend or maybe a nice set of clothes his sisters would approve of. No, he calls me on Mother's Day and says, "Mom, when you're done with dinner with the girls, could you stop by the mall? I have something for you." And my husband and I go there, and as I approach the kiosk where Kenton's at, he hands He puts out his hand, and inside of it is a little black box. I could still see his face and how proud he was. I opened up that black box, and it's a pair of diamond earrings. That's what that young man bought with his first paycheck. The gift was beautiful, but that expression on his face and the pride that he had to give me something so lovely, I will always cherish. And then the next piece of expensive jewelry Kenton would buy would be for Julie, the love of his life. Just 4 weeks before his death, he brought an engagement home and showed his father. Now, mind you, that house is filled with women. Not one of us got to see that ring. The first girl to see that ring was going to be Julie. Kenton was going to do it right. He never had a chance to propose to Julie. We found his ring, that ring, neatly tucked away in his apartment in Lancaster, and we did what we thought Kenton would want us to do. We invited Julie to our house with Father Burns, the PSP chaplain. We had the ring blessed, and my husband is the one who gave Julie that ring on Kenton's behalf. Julie still wears that ring. It took her 7 years before she would date, and finally she met this nice young man named Steve. They dated 2 years, and she just got married this last fall. So we're happy that she's finally moved on with her life. But all Kenton spoke about was marrying Julie and starting a family. Kenton was our child magnet at every family function. The little ones loved him. I mean, he found time to take them out to fish or to swim, or he'd even be just on the carpet playing cars and trucks with the little guys. All of our children loved him. Everyone knew that he would be an excellent father. But Kenton's greatest dream of all has been denied. I will never hold my son's children. Kenton and Julie's future is gone forever, and we're heartbroken over what will never be. You see, there should have been many papers for my son. There should have been a marriage certificate, mortgage papers for his first home, birth certificates for his children by now. Instead, I hold my son's last paper. I hold my son's death certificate. No one should have to stand up here and hold the death certificate of a loved one because someone else thought they could get themselves home safely after becoming impaired. So our family structure is changed. It is real, and it is heartbreaking. Don't get me wrong, we have smiles and laughters during our day, but that true happiness that we once felt as a family, it's not present. I worry for my daughters because not only have they lost their fun-loving brother, but that whole family unit that we had, it's broken. Holidays are different for us, even though we try to duplicate things. That's our last flag football game. It was always the Friday after Thanksgiving, and that's the last time that all of us were together for that flag football game. Not a day goes by that I don't cry for my son, not a day. I had a rough day today. Not a morning begins that before I get out of bed and place my feet on the ground, I say to myself, I cannot believe I will live my day without all 4 of my children present. But that's my reality. And sadly enough, we know the world has suffered as well. Kenton had so much goodness to offer. My husband and I dedicated the last 40 years of our lives together to creating a beautiful family. And we promised God right from the beginning that we would raise our children as God's children. And our ultimate goal was to teach our children right from wrong, so as adults they would choose right over wrong. And yet we're left with the aftermath of someone else's wrong decision. The events that transpired on March 27th, 2008 was not a tragic accident. Was the incident tragic? Yes. Was it an accident? No, it was a choice. It was a choice that someone else made that changed my family forever. Everything that my son was or would have been was taken in an instant that night. But our family's not unique. Our story is similar to thousands of other American families who have lost a loved one themselves. Since the time Kenton was killed, and this doesn't even include 2017, we have lost over 94,000 people on our roads here in the United States. Beautiful lives lost at the hands of an impaired driver. Stats now show us that 2 out of 3 Americans will be in a DUI-related crash at some point during their life. There are many stories. My husband and I joined a grassroots organization called PAPAY, Pennsylvania Parents Against Impaired Drivers. And we go out and we work to lobby for tougher DUI-related laws. Let me share some of their stories with you. Kyle Quigley on the bottom next to Kenton. Kyle Quigley survived Iraq, a tour in Iraq, serving his country. To come home a couple months later after being home, he's killed by an impaired driver. Fire Chief Rodney Miller, in the middle of the second row. Rodney was called to duty because there was a DUI-related crash. So he's stopping traffic only to be struck and drugged over 100 feet by another impaired driver. Meredith Demko, a young girl here from the Lancaster area, just graduated high school, talking about college, where she was going to go, making plans. Middle of the afternoon, 1 mile from her home, she is struck and killed instantly by a repeat offender on a suspended license. The McGowan family, the ones that are circled all together, 3 generations gone in just one crash. A grandmother, a mother, and a little baby. The only one who survived was a little boy named Zach, who was 4 at the time, who has spent the last 10 years as a paraplegic. Joey Pasqualini. Joey's there also. Joey survived the crash. He was walking home from a town in college to his parents' house. He and his brother were struck by a drunk driver. Joey survived. He survived 7 years as a quadriplegic, and he died last year on Kenton's birthday. Liam Crowley from our area right here. Liam Crowley was on a motorcycle, struck and killed by a 7-time repeat DUI offender on a suspended license with a job as a delivery truck driver. How does that even happen? And then there's Miles and Charlotte Hannigan. You're going to hear Paul and Maggie speak tomorrow. They were coming home on Valentine's Day, and a crash resulted in the loss of both Miles and Charlotte. Maggie and Paul were left childless at that time. These are just a tip of the iceberg of the stories that are out there, and I'm sure you have many that you are aware of, many that you've responded to. How do we stop this carnage? What do we need to do? Well, in the forefront, it's tougher DUI laws. PA is only one of 4 states without a repeat DUI offender law. 1 of 4. We have a felony law if you abuse an animal, but we do not have one if you are impaired and you kill someone. That's about to change. There is Senate Bill 961 that's on the floor right now. If it is approved, it would create a felony status for 3rd-time DUI offenders, as well as increase the penalties for repeat offenders that kill and injure. Additionally, and this is an important clause, it includes increased penalties for those who continue to drive on a suspended license, including cases that even if they are in a crash, responsible for that crash, and they end up causing a death or injury, and are not impaired, but they are driving on a suspended license, it will be a felony. There is another bill that is also pending that would target repeat offenders where they had to use the scram bracelet as part of prevention and treatment. We need those laws to be passed. We need our legislators to be vigilant about what is going on and to address the issue as why our laws are so lenient in our state. The next thing we can do to stop the carnage is enforcement will be critical. Continue to deliver the message and be adamant about the fact that DUIs will not be tolerated in your region. And make no exceptions. None. Especially with these laws pending, we need to make sure that we get them each and every time. The woman who murdered Kenton, Christina Cressetti, was a first-time offender. First time. When she was in prison, she bragged about killing a cop. She also bragged about the fact that she had been stopped one time, but she blamed it on her dog that was in the vehicle. And the officer let her get away. So make no exceptions, especially with those laws for repeat offenders pending. The next critical thing is we need to continue to educate our officers. Standard field sobriety training, A-RIDE, DRE training, these are essential. What happens in the drug world continues to change, and it astounds us. Stay abreast on new current trends in the drug field. And dedication is a key to stopping the carnage. Make DUIs your passion, and DUI enforcement comes to play each and every shift. Even if it's at the end of your shift, make that stop. If you're backed up in paperwork, make that stop. When you've had a bad time, you arrest someone and it doesn't get prosecuted, you lose the case, you still make that next stop. When those defense lawyers manipulate the system, you continue to make those stops. When the courts are too lenient, continue to make those stops. And when the sentences don't fit the crime, trudge forward and make those stops. Because every stop that you make saves a life. Even if it's just for an hour or 2 hours, it saves a life. By overloading our courtrooms, DUI stats speak volumes. Every time an impaired driver is removed, take pride in knowing that you saved a life, at least one. Having you here tonight speaks volumes about who you are as an officer and as a person. To give up time from your families to be here, to take a weekend where you volunteered to come to this detail, you're our heroes. Patrolmen, you are on the front lines. You are our heroes. You are the ones that are out there that keep our community safe, our children safe. You are amazing individuals. Lives will be saved tonight. Lives will be saved tomorrow night by dedicated officers like you. May God bless you and keep you safe as you work to protect others. It doesn't matter what uniform you have on tonight. My son is your brother. He was so proud to be in your field. You are him. Thank you so much. May God bless you and keep you safe out there tonight. And thank you for honoring my son in this way. Thank you.
Tonight, I want to tell them about a Senate bill that has been proposed with the work from a lot of you guys. Senate Bill 1080 has been proposed by Senator Andy Dinniman, Senator John Rafferty, and your home senator, Kim Ward, to rename Route 41 the Trooper Kenton Iwaniec Memorial Highway.
Oh, that was really nice. I'm such a ball baby. I'm so sorry.
So nice. It could be voted on as soon as Friday, following Friday. So there's not supposed to be any opposition, so I can't see it not passing, and the senators feel the same way. But
Really nice. Thank you.
Do.
Thank you. I mean, thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, who was ever responsible for doing this. We're just, I mean, just astounded. It's so heartwarming. What a beautiful tribute to do for Kenton. You know, our son was not killed in the line of duty. But you know, when you make that oath, you're on 24/7. We're just so grateful that he was the type of man that he was. He makes it easy for us to stand up here and carry on his legacy, his willingness to serve. We're grateful for him. And this is just a beautiful gesture. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And there's an eagle right by his crash site. I don't know if you knew that or not, but eagles are a sign from Kenton. So we're just so happy. We drove right past the crash site, and there was an eagle right there in the nest. So it's a good sign. Good sign. Thank you. Thank you very much.